The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with activity. Beings from 100 different worlds moved about, their shapes and sizes as varied as the stars in the sky. Some floated, some crawled, and others walked on 2, 4, or even 6 legs. The air was filled with a mix of voices, clicks, and electronic beeps as everyone spoke in their native tongues, all translated by tiny devices they wore. At the center of the hall stood a large round table. It was made of a strange, shimmering material that seemed to change color depending on how you looked at it. Around this table sat the most important members of the Galactic Council, each representing their own corner of the galaxy. Jaehwan, the Arcturian representative, sat quietly in his seat. He looked mostly human, except for his blue skin and large, almond-shaped eyes that glowed softly in the dim light of the hall. He tapped his long fingers on the table, waiting for the right moment to speak. The head of the council, a tall, thin being named Su-Yun, called the meeting to order. Her voice, though soft, carried across the hall, silencing the chatter. "Welcome, representatives," Su-Yun said. "We gather today to discuss the usual matters of trade, border disputes, and galactic peace. Does anyone have any urgent issues to bring up before we begin?" Jaehwan raised his hand. Su-Yun nodded at him, and he stood up. He took a deep breath, knowing that what he was about to say would cause quite a stir. "Honored members of the council," Jaehwan began, his voice steady but filled with concern. "I bring news of a potentially serious situation. Our deep space monitors have detected rapid expansion in the Orion arm of the galaxy. It seems a new species has emerged, one that we have never encountered before." Murmurs rippled through the hall. A new species wasn't unheard of, but one that was expanding rapidly. That was unusual and potentially dangerous. "Tell us more," Jaehwan, Su-Yun urged, leaning forward in her seat. "This species seems to have mastered faster-than-light travel in a remarkably short time," Jaehwan explained. "They've colonized several star systems in just a few of their planetary rotations. Their technology is advancing at an alarming rate." Jaehun, the representative from the warlike Kratzor Empire, stood up. His scaly skin gleamed under the lights, and his sharp teeth showed as he spoke. "Are they a threat? Should we prepare our fleets for battle?" Jaehwan shook his head. "We don't know enough to say if they're a threat. That's why I'm bringing this to the council. We need to decide how to approach this situation." Min-Seo, the peaceful Lorraine representative, spoke up next. Her voice was melodic, almost like she was singing. "Perhaps we should send a delegation to greet them. Offer them friendship and a place in the galactic community." The hall erupted into debate. Some agreed with Jaehun, arguing that any unknown species should be treated as a potential threat. Others sided with Min-Seo, believing that peaceful contact was always the best first step. Jaehwan listened to the arguments flying back and forth. He caught Su-Yun's eye and saw the concern there. They both knew that this decision could change the face of the galaxy forever. After letting the debate rage for a while, Su-Yun raised her hand for silence. The hall quieted down, all eyes turning to her. "This is indeed a serious matter," she said, her voice calm but firm. "We cannot rush into action without more information. I propose we send a small scout ship to observe these newcomers from a safe distance. We need to learn more about them before we decide on our next move." The council members muttered among themselves, but most seemed to agree with this cautious approach. "All in favor?" Su-Yun asked. A sea of hands, tentacles, and other appendages rose into the air. The motion was passed. "Very well," Su-Yun said. "We will send our best scout ship to investigate. Jaehwan, since you brought this to our attention, I'd like you to oversee the mission. Choose a capable captain and crew." Jaehwan nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. As the meeting moved on to other matters, his mind was already racing, thinking about who he would choose for this crucial mission. As he left the council hall later that day, Jaehwan couldn't shake the feeling that the galaxy was about to change. Whether for better or worse, he couldn't say. But one thing was certain. The peace they had known for so long was about to be tested. Little did J1 know that the species they were about to encounter would shake the very foundations of the Galactic Council and redefine what it meant to be a spacefaring civilization. The humans were coming, and nothing would ever be the same again. The sleek scout ship Stargazer glided silently through the vast emptiness of space. Its smooth, silver hull reflected the distant starlight, making it look almost like a shooting star. Inside, Captain Yunji sat in the command chair, her eyes fixed on the main view screen. Any signs of the unknown species, Junho? Yunji asked her sensor officer. Junho, a young man with quick eyes and quicker fingers, shook his head. Nothing yet, Captain, but we're approaching the edge of their reported territory. Yunji nodded, trying to hide her nervousness. This was her first big mission, and she didn't want to let Jaewan or the Galactic Council down. Keep your eyes open, everyone. We don't know what to expect. As if on cue, a light began blinking on Junho's console. His eyes widened. Captain, I'm picking up an energy signature. It's like nothing I've ever seen before. Yunji leaned forward in her chair. On screen, she ordered. The view screen flickered to life, showing a small ship in the distance. It was unlike any ship Yunji had ever seen. Instead of the smooth, elegant designs favored by most spacefaring races, this ship was all sharp angles and protruding parts. It looked almost primitive. That's one of their ships, Yunji whispered, half to herself. It looks so strange. Captain, her communication officer, Maicha, called out. They're hailing us. Yunji took a deep breath. This was it. First contact. Open a channel, she said, trying to keep her voice steady. The view screen changed, showing the interior of the other ship. Yunji gasped. The beings on the other ship looked almost exactly like Arcturians, except their skin wasn't blue. They looked a lot like her. One of the beings, wearing what seemed to be a uniform, stepped forward. This is Captain David Chen of the Earth research vessel Curiosity. We come in peace. Please identify yourselves. Yunji blinked, surprised that she could understand them. Their language was different, but somehow familiar. She cleared her throat. This is Captain Yunji of the Galactic Council scout ship Stargazer. We also come in peace. There was a moment of silence as both sides stared at each other in amazement. Then Captain Chen spoke again. You look almost like us. How is this possible? Before Yunji could answer, alarms started blaring on both ships. Junho yelled out, Captain, our systems are being scanned. They're trying to access our databases. On the view screen, Yunji could see similar panic on the human ship. Captain Chen was shouting, What do you mean? They're in our systems. Shut it down. Yunji's mind raced. Were the humans attacking them? Or was this some kind of misunderstanding? She didn't have time to think it through. Raise shields, she ordered. Prepare to defend ourselves. The Stargazer hummed as its defensive systems came online. On the screen, Yunji saw the human ship's posture change. It was taking up a defensive position too. Wait, Captain Chen yelled. This is a misunderstand. His words were cut off as the communication channel closed. Both ships, now running on automatic defense protocols, began to fire warning shots at each other. The space around them lit up with energy blasts. Neither ship was trying to destroy the other, but in the chaos and confusion, it was hard to tell friend from foe. Evasive maneuvers, Yunji shouted. The Stargazer dove and weaved, avoiding the human ship's fire while returning its own. After several tense minutes, the human ship suddenly turned and sped away, jumping to faster than light speed and disappearing from their sensors. Yunji slumped in her chair, her heart pounding. What had just happened? What should have been a peaceful first contact had turned into a disaster. Damage report, she said weakly. Minor damage to our outer hull, Junho reported. But Captain, our database. They copied a large portion of it before they left. Yunji closed her eyes, feeling a headache coming on. This was bad. Very bad. Not only had they failed to make peaceful contact, but now this unknown species, these humans, had a significant amount of information about the Galactic Council and its members. Set a course back to Council space, Yunji ordered. We need to report this immediately. As the stargazer turned and headed home, Yunji couldn't help but wonder, what would the humans do with the information they had stolen? And how would the Galactic Council respond to this disastrous first contact? Little did she know, her encounter had set in motion events that would change the galaxy forever. The age of peace was over. The age of humanity had begun. Admiral Sungmin stood at the large window of his office on the Mars space station. He looked out at the red planet below, his mind far away. The comm device on his desk beeped, breaking his thoughts. He walked over and pressed a button. "Admiral, we've received an urgent message from the Curiosity," said a voice. Sungmin frowned. The Curiosity was supposed to be on a routine research mission. "Put it through," he said. Captain David Chen's face appeared on the screen. He looked worried and tired. "Admiral, we've had first contact with an alien species," he said without preamble. Sungmin's eyes widened. "Repeat that, Captain." Chen took a deep breath and explained what had happened. He told Sungmin about the alien ship, how they looked almost human, and how things had gone wrong. "We accidentally activated our deep scan protocol," Chen said. "They thought we were attacking them. We got some of their data, but they probably got some of ours too. Sir, I think we might have started a war." Sungmin listened in silence. When Chen finished, he said, "Return to Earth immediately, Captain. We'll need a full debriefing." He ended the call and sat down heavily in his chair. For years, humanity had wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they had their answer, but it had come with a price. Sungmin knew he had to act fast. He called an emergency meeting with Earth's top military and political leaders. They gathered in a secure room, faces grim as Sungmin explained the situation. "We need to show strength," said General Park, pounding his fist on the table. "If we look weak, these aliens might attack us. But we don't want a war," argued Dr. Kim, the chief scientist. "We should try to talk to them, explain it was a mistake." The room erupted into arguments. Sungmin let them talk for a while, then raised his hand for silence. "We need to do both," he said. "We'll send a message of peace, but we'll deliver it from a position of strength." He turned to his assistant. "Bring up the file on the HS Thunderbolt." A hologram appeared in the center of the table, showing a massive spaceship. It was long and sleek, with powerful engines and advanced weapons. The room fell silent as they stared at the image. "The Thunderbolt is our most advanced battleship," Sungmin explained. "We've kept it secret, even from our own people. It's time to reveal it to the galaxy." The leaders murmured among themselves. Finally, the president spoke. "Are you sure about this, Admiral? Once we show this ship, there's no going back." Sungmin nodded. "It's a risk, but a necessary one. We'll send the Thunderbolt with a message of peace, but its presence will show these aliens that we're not to be trifled with." After more discussion, the leaders agreed. Sungmin left the meeting and headed to the shipyard where the Thunderbolt was docked. As he approached, he saw Captain Taeyeon waiting for him. She was young for a captain, but she was the best pilot in the fleet. "Admiral," she said, saluting. "Is it time?" Sungmin nodded. "Captain Taeyeon, I'm giving you command of the HS Thunderbolt. Your mission is to make contact with the alien species we encountered. Offer peace, but be prepared for anything." Taeyeon's eyes shone with excitement and a little fear. "Yes, sir. When do we leave?" "Immediately," Sungmin said. "The fate of humanity may rest on this mission, Captain. Make us proud." Taeyeon saluted again and hurried off to prepare her crew. Sungmin watched her go, then turned to look at the Thunderbolt. The ship was huge, dwarfing everything around it. Its hull gleamed under the lights of the shipyard. Some men could see workers scurrying around, making final preparations. As he watched the Thunderbolt come to life, some men felt a mix of pride and worry. This ship represented the best of human technology and ingenuity. But would it be enough to secure humanity's place in a galaxy that suddenly seemed much larger and more dangerous? Only time would tell. As the Thunderbolt's engines began to glow, some men whispered a quiet hope. Good luck and Godspeed. The Galactic Council chamber was in chaos. Representatives from all corners of the galaxy were shouting, arguing, and some were even threatening to leave. In the center of it all stood Jawan, trying to make sense of the situation. Please, everyone, calm down. Su Yun's voice boomed over the noise. Slowly, the room quieted. Now let's hear the report again, calmly. All eyes turned to Captain Yunji, who stood nervously at the front of the room. She took a deep breath and began her story again. We encountered a ship from the unknown species, she said. They call themselves humans. They look very much like us, but their technology is different. There was a misunderstanding. And she explained about the accidental data exchange and the brief fight that followed. As she spoke, worried whispers spread through the room. So these humans have our data? Asked Gaihun, the Kratzor representative. His scaly skin seemed to bristle with anger. This is an act of war. No, no, said Min Seo, her melodic voice strained with worry. It was an accident. We must seek peace. The argument started again, voices rising. Jae-won looked at Su-yun, seeing the concern in her eyes. This was bad, very bad. Suddenly, a young aide burst into the room. Counselors, he shouted, his voice cutting through the noise. We've detected a massive ship entering our space. The room fell silent. Su-yun stood up slowly. Show us, she said. A large hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed a ship unlike anything they had ever seen. It was huge, easily twice the size of their largest vessels. Its design was strange, all sharp angles and protruding parts. But what caught everyone's attention were the weapons. The ship bristled with cannons and missile launchers. By the stars, someone whispered, "Is that a human ship?" Jae-won felt a chill run down his spine. He remembered the small research vessel they had encountered. If that was what humans used for research, what kind of monster was this? It's heading straight for us, the aide said, his voice shaking. At its current speed, it will reach the council station in less than a day. The room erupted into panic. Some representatives were calling for immediate evacuation. Others wanted to gather their fleets for a preemptive strike. Gaihun was shouting about the glory of dying in battle. Su-yun raised her hands, calling for silence. We cannot panic, she said firmly. We are the Galactic Council. We must face this with dignity and wisdom. But what can we do? Asked Min Seo. Our ships are no match for that. That thing. Jae-hwan stepped forward. We talked to them, he said. All eyes turned to him. We opened communications with them before. We can do it again. And say what? Gaihun scoffed. Please don't destroy us. We apologize for the misunderstanding, Jae-hwan said. We explain that we mean no harm, and we invite them to join us. The room fell silent as everyone considered this. It was a risky plan. But what choice did they have? Su-yun nodded slowly. Jae-hwan is right. We are diplomats, not warriors. We will meet these humans with words, not weapons. She turned to the communications officer. Prepare a message. We will broadcast it on all frequencies. As the council scrambled to prepare, Jae-hwan looked back at the hologram of the human ship. It was terrifying, yes, but also amazing. These humans had built something incredible. Maybe, just maybe, they could be reasoned with. Outside the council chamber, news of the approaching human ship spread quickly. People rushed to prepare for the worst, while others gathered in public spaces, looking up at the sky. In less than a day, everything would change. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see what the humans would do. As the hours ticked by, one question echoed through every mind in the galaxy. Were these humans coming as friends or conquerors? The answer would shape the future of every species in the cosmos. The HSS Thunderbolt dropped out of faster-than-light travel with a flash of light. It appeared just outside the Galactic Council's space, its massive form dwarfing the nearby patrol ships. On the bridge of the Thunderbolt, Captain Taiyun stood tall, her eyes fixed on the main view screen. She could see the Council's home station in the distance, a beautiful structure that looked like a giant snowflake made of metal and glass. "Status report," Taiyun called out. "All systems normal, Captain," her first officer, Jin Ho, reported. "We're being scanned by multiple ships and the station itself." Taiyun nodded. She had expected this. "Any response to our message?" "Not yet, Captain," said the communications officer. "But we're picking up a lot of chatter. They seem excited, or maybe scared." "Probably both," Taiyun said with a small smile. She knew the Thunderbolt was an impressive sight. It was designed to be. Suddenly, a light blinked on the comm panel. "Captain," the officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the station." "On screen," Taiyun ordered. The view screen changed to show a blue-skinned being with large, almond-shaped eyes. Taiyun recognized the species from the data they had received during the first contact incident. "Greetings, human vessel," the alien said. "I am Jahuan of the Galactic Council. We welcome you to our space." Taiyun could hear the nervousness in Jahuan's voice. She stepped forward, keeping her own voice calm and friendly. "Greetings, Jahuan of the Galactic Council. I am Captain Taiyun of the HS Thunderbolt. We come in peace." She saw Jahuan relax a little at her words. "We are glad to hear that, Captain," he said. "Your ship is quite impressive." "Thank you," Taiyun said. "We hoped it would get your attention. We wish to apologize for the misunderstanding during our first contact, and we hope to start fresh." As they talked, the Thunderbolt moved closer to the station. Taiyun could see smaller ships darting around, keeping a wary eye on her vessel. She couldn't blame them. The Thunderbolt was unlike anything they had ever seen. The ship's hull was made of a special material that seemed to swallow light, making it look like a piece of the night sky had come alive. Its shape was long and sleek, but with sharp angles that hinted at its combat capabilities. Along its sides, rows of weapon ports were visible, currently closed but ready to open at a moment's notice. But what really caught everyone's attention were the engines. The Thunderbolt's propulsion system was a marvel of human engineering. Instead of the usual blue glow of standard engines, the Thunderbolt's engines pulsed with a strange, shifting light that seemed to bend space around it. As word spread that the humans had come in peace, curious onlookers began to gather at viewports all over the station and on nearby ships. They stared in awe at the Thunderbolt, whispering excitedly to each other. "It's so big. Look at those weapons. How can something that large move so gracefully?" Even the council members, watching from their chamber, couldn't hide their amazement. Gaihun, who had been so eager for battle earlier, now looked thoughtful. "Perhaps," he muttered, "it is good we did not attack." Mincio nodded in agreement. "Their technology, it's incredible. Think of what we could learn from them." Back on the Thunderbolt, Taiyun continued her conversation with Jahuan. "We would be honored to meet with your council," she said. "We have much to discuss and much to learn from each other." Jahuan smiled, looking more relaxed now. "We would be delighted, Captain. Please, prepare a delegation to come aboard our station. We will make ready to receive you." As the call ended, Taiyun turned to her crew. She could see the excitement in their eyes. They had trained for this moment, dreamed of it. Now it was here. "Well," she said with a grin, "let's not keep our new friends waiting. Prepare the shuttle. It's time to make history." As the Thunderbolt's shuttle bay opened, revealing a sleek craft ready to depart, the whole galaxy seemed to hold its breath. The age of humanity in the galactic community was about to begin. The shuttle from the HS Thunderbolt glided smoothly into the docking bay of the Galactic Council station. As its doors opened, Captain Taiyun stepped out, followed by a small team of human diplomats and scientists. They were greeted by a group of aliens led by Jawan. "Welcome to the Galactic Council," Jawan said, bowing slightly. Taiyun returned the gesture, smiling. "Thank you for having us," she replied. "We look forward to learning about your cultures and sharing our own." As they walked through the station, Taiyun couldn't help but marvel at the alien architecture. Everything seemed to flow and curve in ways that were both beautiful and strange to her human eyes. They entered a large, circular room where the council members waited. The room fell silent as the humans entered. Taiyun could feel the mix of fear, curiosity, and excitement in the air. Su-Yun, the head of the council, stood to greet them. "Captain Taiyun, representatives of Earth, we welcome you to this historic meeting." Taiyun stepped forward. "Thank you, honored council. We come with open hands and open minds, eager to join the galactic community." The meeting began with introductions and explanations of the misunderstanding that had occurred during first contact. Both sides expressed regret for the incident and a desire to move forward peacefully. As the talks progressed, however, tensions began to rise. Gai-hun, the Kratzor representative, suddenly stood up. "Enough of this polite talk," he growled. "We all saw your ship. Why should we believe you come in peace when you bring such a weapon to our doorstep?" Murmurs of agreement rippled through the room. Taiyun felt the atmosphere shift, becoming more hostile. She took a deep breath, knowing her next words could make or break this meeting. "The Thunderbolt is indeed a powerful ship," she began, her voice calm but firm. "But it is not just a weapon. It is a symbol of what humanity can achieve when we work together. We brought it here not to threaten, but to show you who we are." She paused, looking around the room. "We are explorers and inventors. We are dreamers and builders. And yes, when necessary, we are warriors. But above all, we are a species that wants to learn and grow. We hope to do that alongside all of you." The room was quiet for a moment. Then Minseo, the Loreni representative, spoke up. "You speak well, Captain. But words are easy. How can you prove your intentions?" Taiyun smiled. "I'm glad you asked." She nodded to one of her team members, who stepped forward with a small device. "This is a data crystal containing some of our scientific and medical knowledge. We offer it freely, as a gesture of goodwill." She handed the crystal to Su-Yun, who looked at it with wide eyes. "This is most generous," she said, clearly surprised. "Additionally," Taiyun continued, "we invite a delegation from the Council to visit Earth. See our world, meet our people. Judge for yourselves what kind of species we are." The council members began to talk excitedly among themselves. Jae-hwan caught Taiyun's eye and gave her a small nod of approval. Gai-hun, however, was not satisfied. "And what of your weapons? Your war technology?" Taiyun turned to him. "We hope we won't need them. But if the galaxy is as full of wonders as it is dangers, we believe in being prepared. However, we're willing to discuss treaties limiting the use of such technologies." This seemed to satisfy Gai-hun, who sat back down, looking thoughtful. As the meeting continued, the atmosphere gradually warmed. The council members began asking questions about Earth, human culture, and technology. Taiyun and her team answered as best they could, sometimes causing surprise or laughter with their responses. By the end of the session, the mood had completely changed. There was still caution, but it was mixed with genuine curiosity and excitement. Su-Yun stood to address the room. "This meeting has been most enlightening. While there is still much to discuss, I believe we can all agree that this is the beginning of a new era for our galaxy." She turned to Taiyun. "Captain, we thank you for coming. We look forward to further discussions and to visiting your Earth." As the meeting adjourned, Taiyun felt a sense of relief and accomplishment. The first step had been taken. Humanity had made its entrance onto the galactic stage, and while challenges lay ahead, the future looked bright. Little did anyone know, this was just the beginning of humanity's impact on the galaxy. The age of human innovation, exploration, and sometimes human chaos was about to begin. The days following the historic meeting between humans and the Galactic Council were filled with excitement and change. News of humanity's dramatic entrance into galactic society spread quickly, causing a stir on countless worlds. On the Galactic Council station, the council members gathered for a special vote. The room was buzzing with conversation as Su-Yan called for order. "Fellow representatives," she began, her voice carrying across the chamber. "We have a monumental decision before us. The question: should we invite humanity to join the Galactic Council as full members?" The room erupted into discussion. Some voices were excited, others cautious. Gai Hun, surprisingly, was one of the loudest supporters. "Their technology is impressive," he argued. "Their ships, their weapons, imagine what we could learn. And better to have them as allies than potential enemies." Min Seo nodded in agreement. The medical knowledge they shared has already led to breakthroughs. Think of how many lives could be saved across the galaxy. Not everyone was convinced. Some worried that humans might be too aggressive, too unpredictable. But as the debate went on, more and more representatives were swayed. Finally, Su-Yan called for the vote. The room fell silent as each member cast their decision. When the results were tallied, it was clear, by a large majority, humanity would be welcomed into the Galactic Council. As the news spread, celebrations broke out across Earth. Humans had dreamed of this moment for centuries, and now it was reality. They were part of something greater, a vast community of intelligent life spanning the galaxy. On the HS Thunderbolt, Captain Tai-Yun received the news with a mix of joy and apprehension. She knew this was just the beginning. There would be challenges ahead, misunderstandings to navigate, and so much to learn. A few weeks later, Tai-Yun found herself walking through a beautiful garden on the council station. Next to her was Jae-Hwan, who had become a friend during the negotiations. "I still can't believe how quickly things have changed," Tai-Yun said, looking up at the stars visible through the station's clear dome. Jae-Hwan nodded. "It's been quite an adjustment for us too. Your people have already made quite an impact." Tai-Yun laughed. "I heard about the incident with the human chef and the Zorlak ambassador. Who knew alien taste buds would react that way to chili peppers?" Jae-Hwan chuckled. "Yes, well, it's all part of the learning process. But tell me, how are your people adjusting to all of this?" He gestured broadly, indicating the vastness of galactic society. Tai-Yun thought for a moment. "It's a mix. Many are excited, eager to explore and learn. Others are scared, worried about how we'll fit in. And some are already thinking about how to profit from all this new technology and trade." "Ah yes," Jae-Hwan said with a knowing smile. "We've noticed your people have quite the entrepreneurial spirit. It's causing quite a stir in some quarters." They walked in comfortable silence for a while, each lost in their own thoughts. Finally, Tai-Yun spoke again. "Jae-Hwan, be honest with me. Do you think we made the right decision, inviting humanity into the council so quickly?" Jae-Hwan stopped walking and turned to face her. His large eyes seemed to look right through her. "Tai-Yun, in all my years on the council, I've learned one thing. The galaxy is constantly changing. Your people, you bring something new, something dynamic. Yes, it's a bit scary, but it's also exciting." He smiled warmly. "I believe that together we can achieve great things. There will be challenges, of course, but I have faith that we can overcome them." Tai-Yun felt a wave of relief wash over her. "Thank you, Jae-Hwan. I needed to hear that." As they resumed their walk, Tai-Yun's mind raced with possibilities. What adventures awaited humanity among the stars? What discoveries would they make? What friendships would they forge? One thing was certain: the galaxy would never be the same again. The age of humanity had begun, and the stars themselves seemed to shine a little brighter with the promise of what was to come. As news of Earth's admission to the Galactic Council spread across the cosmos, beings on countless worlds looked up at their night skies with new wonder. Somewhere out there was a planet called Earth, home to a species that had burst onto the galactic stage in spectacular fashion. The humans were here, and the greatest adventure in galactic history was just beginning.